Welcome to our video on March 2019. Astrology forecasts including lunar phases, both the new and the full moons, the monthly ingresses of various planets, and also horoscope houses, complete with planetary archangels and zodiac angels. Keep in mind that achieving goals and accomplishing phenomenal success through magical interventions are all possible if one knows when and whom to invoke. Now, magicians must also consider how various planetary and zodiacal angelic beings will interact with each other, making sure to invoke, which means to invoke into oneself, kind of taking on a god form, or invoke, to call into your circle, or to evoke is to call upon. The potent forces of light that will extend into facets of the Magi's life, predetermined by her or him for specific purposes tangential to true will. Now, magic must be taken seriously, since it is an ancient method of manifestation intended for practical victories over constricting forces which set up our 3D reality in the first place. And that set up into motion, again, it's the restriction. At first, the light restricted itself in the center, and then, according to Kabbalah and the Zohar, and then the light was extended into the darkness. Okay, so that is, again, according to the Zohar and to Kabbalah. Now, magic has rules just like any other science, and these rules must be devotedly applied to practice if you want to make sure that your magic comes out the way you want, because your intention is everything, as always. Now, magicians strive not to break natural laws, but rather to understand how Mother Nature manifests her creations so that she is able to assist, and so you're able to sort of become one with with Mother Nature's spells, and so that you're able to work in tandem with her. You have to be able to work with nature. That's how alchemy, which is what all science is based on, various forms of alchemy. Animal alchemy became surgery, and plant alchemy, became what we know as botany and that kind of thing. So all these, and then there's chemical alchemy. So alchemy was just the main focus of science, and then things branched off and, took on new, maybe, words to mean certain things. But in reality, it's all very well explained in the ancient alchemical texts. Okay, now, first, before we get into this month's March 2019 astrology chart, so that we can give you all the proper planetary angels and the proper zodiacal angels, so that you can sort of call upon these, so that you can make this a really beneficial and successful time for yourself. Before you do that, first, our disclaimer. Watching this video or reading this document is an act of spiritual willpower, and any such action is considered magic. If you want to read this, we have a blog you can get in the description box below. Now, high magic should be used with all mindfulness, since powerful forces of manifestation are unleashed. This is intended exclusively for entertainment purposes. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel. I'm a Rosicrucian seer. I'm a biblical astrologer, Christian psychic, and Gnostic mystic. And this is a Readings by Rosemary angelic transmission. All right, now, March of 2019. It has the following lunar phases, and we're going to give you these lunar phases and these various zodiacals. Okay, we're going to try to get this a little bit better so that you can see it a little bit better. Okay. Okay, I think that's going to be better for you to be able to see it. Okay. Also, I'm going to bring it closer for you here. The bottom circle is just the various colors that are associated with the signs of the zodiac, and up here we've just highlighted the ones for March of 2019, and we didn't do the various aspects because we're doing the whole month. But sometimes when there's an eclipse or something, we do the specific aspects for you. Okay, so we're going to focus then on these particular signs and the planets which are ingressing, and also the full and the new moon, and also Mercury station when it goes in direct and when it's going to go retrograde. Okay, so again, March 2019, it has, we're going to talk about now the lunar phases, the planetary ingresses, the natural horoscope houses, the ones that are associated with the signs, and the stations, again, for Mercury, planetary archangels and zodiac angels using Greenwich Mean Time. Now, this month, Mercury will have variations in whether it's direct or whether it's retrograde, but the other ones are not going to have changes at this time. We're just going to talk about the changes, okay, for that particular thing. All right, now March. For March 1st, again, 2019, Venus, the planet Venus, is going to ingress Aquarius. And so you have Venus here. Later on it's going to ingress Pisces. We'll get to that. That's why I have an arrow here. But the planet Venus is going to ingress into the sign of Aquarius, which is akin to the natural 11th house of friends and reputation. Planetary archangel Anael visits abode of zodiac angel Cambriel. Okay, now Aquarius is an air sign, so this is the Merkaba field of the planetary archangel Raphael. It's the three-dimensional Merkaba representation. Mer meaning rotating fields of light, Ka meaning spirit, and Ba meaning soul. So this is the Merkaba representation for air. Now Aquarius is fixed air, but this is the general archangel of air for Raphael, Archangel Raphael for air. Now on March 5th, there is going to be a Mercury retrograde station beginning. So on March 5th, Mercury will begin a retrograde transit. Now March 6th, the planet Uranus will ingress into the sign of Taurus, the bull. So Aquarius, the water bearer, is where planet Venus will ingress, and the planet Uranus will ingress into the sign of Taurus, the bull, on the 6th. So on the 1st, Venus into Aquarius. On the 6th, we have Uranus into Taurus, the bull. And Taurus the bull is associated with the natural 2nd house of money and possessions. And planetary archangel Ariel, that's with not Uriel, but it's Ariel, A-U-R-I-E-L, visits residence of zodiac angel Asmodel for Taurus. That's the zodiac angel for Taurus is Asmodel. Okay, now again, this is here. That's the second. That's a natural 2nd house. It means on a natural chart, it's associated with the 2nd house because this is in a natural chart. Aries 1st, Taurus 2nd, Gemini 3rd, and again, money and possessions. Okay, now on March 6th of 2019, we have a new moon in the sign of Pisces the fish, which is analogous to the natural 12th house of spirituality. So Pisces the fish is analogous to the natural 12th house, which is has to do with spirituality. Planetary archangel Gabriel visits habitation of zodiac angel Int'l. Okay, so Gabriel is a water archangel, but also the archangel of the moon, and is receptive, or her, Gabriel tends to have a feminine aspect, but Gabriel can also be masculine. I mean, all angels can be that way, but water is usually associated with a feminine aspect, as is earth, whereas fire and air are associated with masculine aspects. Okay, so the new moon, we have a receptive form of the archangel Gabriel. Archangel Gabriel for water. This is the 3D representation of water for archangel, the Merkaba field. Okay, so that would be represented also for Pisces regarding the elemental angel, but the zodiac angel is different, is more specific, is Int'l. And if you want to think about it, Int'l is similar, to where we get amniotic, fluid, and that, that we have words that have to do with those types of things. So Pisces is associated with the oceans, which is associated with birth. So you understand that that's where these things kind of come from. Okay. Now March 20th, we have the Sun ingress Aries. So we have the sun ingress the sign of Aries, the ram. Okay, which is akin to the natural first house of self and appearances. Planetary Archangel Michael visits dwelling of Zodiac Angel Melchizedek. So the Zodiac Angel for Aries is Melchizedek. The planetary Archangel is going to be Michael, who's associated with the sun, or Michael, associated with the sun. Now that's also, but Michael is also associated with Aries, which is cardinal fire. And the fire representation, Merkaba field, this is what it looks like. And this is, again, the 3D representation of the Merkaba field for Archangel of Fire, who's represented by Archangel Michael, or Michael. All right, now, March 21st, we have a full moon in the sign of Libra, the scales, which is associated with the natural 7th house of law and commitment. And the planetary Archangel Gabriel, because it's the moon, which is associated with Gabriel, the watery aspect, visits abode of Zodiac Angel Zuriel, who's associated with Libra, the scales. So Zuriel is a Zodiac Angel associated with Libra, the scales, and Gabriel, the planetary angel associated with the full moon, which is going to be expansive and projective. Full moon is projective for in the sign of Libra, which is akin to the natural 7th house. Again, that's law and commitment. All right. Now, the Archangel, not Ariel, but Uriel, with a U, U-R-I-E-L, Uriel is the Archangel of Earth. And the Archangel of Earth is represented by what looks like a three-dimensional Star of David. It's a Merkaba field of the Archangel of Earth, and the Archangel of Earth being Uriel. Okay? So that's a very interesting. Now remember too that these are representations of celestial coordinates, because you don't use you use 5-pointed stars when you're doing Earth magic. You know, when you're calling quarters for Earth, but when you're calling celestial coordinates having to do with where the certain signs of the zodiac are fixed signs, and where the archangels are that are associated with the fixed signs, then you're going to use 6-pointed stars to represent the celestial realms. That's a little bit more than we're getting into here, but this is, you know, a little bit of beginning magic. But we're just telling you that is what is how you don't want to. These aren't really for Earth coordinates; they're more for celestial coordinates. So it's more when you got your head in the clouds and you're gazing at the stars, not really for bringing things down to Earth. Okay, so there's specific rituals what these are used for, but we're just giving you representations. With one of my really good friends made these for me. This again is air. My really good friend David made these for me. A friend of mine who is also he's a psychic I used to work with. This is for water. He made these for me. He gave them to me out of the goodness of his heart. You know, I cherish these. This is fire. Yeah, fire. And this one's for air. And this one is for earth. Okay. Now on the, if we're going to get into the Venus ingress, not only does Venus go into Aquarius in March of 2019, but Venus also transits and ingresses into Pisces during March. So Venus is going to then ingress from Aquarius into the sign of Pisces, from Aquarius the water bearer into the sign of Pisces the fish. It's going to do that on the 26th. The full moon again will be on the 21st, but on the 26th Venus will go from Aquarius into Pisces. So there's 2 ingresses for the planet Venus in March of 2019, and Venus again will ingress Pisces. Pisces is analogous to the natural 12th house of spirituality. Now planetary archangel Anael, again of Venus, visits the residence of zodiac angel Int'l, who is a zodiac angel of Pisces. Zodiac angel of Pisces, Int'l. Again, that Int'l, amniotic fluid, you see how that all I also used to teach Lamaze. Okay, now on March 28th, 2019, Mercury, because remember, it went retrograde, now it's going to go on the 28th, it's going to go direct. Mercury is going to go direct and begin a direct transit on the 28th. And a common thing for astrologers to recount is that when Mercury is retrograde, that really communication and is not so good, and people feel like they shouldn't sign documents. Also, transportation isn't as good, But when Mercury is direct, then it's better to communicate and better to transport things. It's a general. It's general. You don't have to be frightened to do things. It's like astrology is like a weather report. So when it's raining, what do? Do you not do anything? No, you do things, but you bring an umbrella. That's all. And you wear your raincoat and all of that. So it's just to prepare you for, to have an idea of the condition, because astrology is a condition. And then we can utilize the archangels and call them in and have them there for assistance, with your, to make you feel protected as guardians and as rulers of these signs, to be able. There's also God names. We're not going to get into the Hebrew God names right now. That's a little bit more than we're going to get into in an astrology video. But remember that you always you give thanks to Hashem, which means the name in Hebrew is considered like God, a name of God. But it's not. It just says Hashem means the name. It's because you don't want to. Because it's the belief that every time you assign a name to God, you're sort of diminishing God or saying that this is God, and our minds cannot conceive of that, so we shouldn't really be, But you can use the various Hebrew names. With that said, you can use the various Hebrew names which are specific for specific Kabbalistic, which is zodiac signs and planetaries are you could place them on the Kabbalah, on the tree of life. We're not going to get into that right now either. But that's how these things associate. Kabbalah is where all this can be associated with. There's a lot of correspondences. It's just that you might know the names in Hebrew rather than in Latin or rather than in some other language. So if you know we get into the Hebrew words so that people can understand where the similarities are. All right, now on March 21st of 2019, again we have Mars ingress the sign of Gemini, the twins. It's Mars ingress Gemini, the twins, which is akin to the natural third house of transportation and communication, because Mercury rules Gemini. Gemini is the daytime abode of the planet Mercury. So the planet Mercury is about, again, it's also associated with the Archangel Raphael, but it's the planet, and also with St. Paul and Thoth, the Atlantean, and Mercury, and Hermes Trismegistus. So, but anyway, what we're trying to say is, you see, there's a Mercury. Why does Mercury matter about communication? The reason Mercury matters about communication because Mercury rules Gemini. Mercury rules Virgo at nighttime, but in the daytime, Mercury rules Gemini. Because Gemini is an air sign, so it's day, it's masculine, it's yang. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, but that's nighttime because Virgo is yin. Virgo is feminine. See, and how it all fits together. So there is reason for everything. There is a reason for everything. And if you study, I studied Rosicrucian Kabbalah, but if you study Rosicrucian Kabbalah, then you can understand how astrology works, and you can also understand how the angelic forces can be brought to help you, be brought to make you able to reach your goals. Okay, now the Hebrew calendar associations and zodiac. The Hebrew again for zodiac is Mazzaroth. The placement for planets, the sun. The sun is one of. I've decided to go back to the original word I used to use that I learned originally when I studied magic. Shemesh is the word that I'm using for sun. The Hebrew word that I learned originally. I'm going back to using that. I feel better with it. And ingress Aries, sun ingress Aries. Aries, the constellation name in Hebrew is Taleh. That's the constellation for Hebrew. It's called Taleh. The new moon in the sign of Pisces, the fish, okay? It's Aries the ram, Pisces the fish. So the new moon in Pisces the fish. Okay, now Levana is the word we're choosing to use for the moon, but to separate the new moon from the full moon, Levana is for moon, one of the words for moon, one of the most commonly used words for moon, at least in magical circles. So Rosh Chodesh is the new moon, and that means the head of the beginning, because that's it starts a month on the Hebrew calendar. Okay, now Pisces, for Pisces, the Hebrew word is Dagim. Now the full moon, remember in Libra, the full moon, again the word for moon, Levana. Now also for full moon, it can be also called Kese, or I'm not sure I'm saying it right, but it's K-E-S-E or K-E-S-E-H. Also some feel, so I spoke to some friends of mine who mentioned that, they told me that sometimes in ancient times they thought that perhaps the full moon was associated with Shabbat or Shabbos, and that as time went on it began to mean the seventh day of the week, but early on it was actually the full moon and a celebration, maybe a long time ago. But that's something that some of my friends told me who know more about that than I do. Also, they also said that the full moon can represent the coming of Moshiach, or the Messiah. So very important to understand where these things kind of come from, and also that when you have your dark moon, that can kind of represent that there's like 18 hours of a dark moon, and that can kind of get into why if you have 666 equals 18, you get that sort of antichrist or anti-Messiah, where you have where the Moshiach is not present, where it has not arrived yet, or has left and has not returned, or has not arrived. Different people have different beliefs, but I thought that was a very meaningful, that the full moon can be thought of as Mashiach. And also remember that in Libra, the sign of the scales, in Hebrew it's called Moznaim. Now the planet Mercury, called Kokav in Hebrew, this month, remember we just had the stations of direct and retrograde, but not really any ingresses. Now we did for Venus have two ingresses. Okay, remember first ingress Aquarius, Venus Noga, and ingress Aquarius Dali. For Aquarius Dali, Aquarius the water bearer, Venus Noga, the Noga, it means Venus, ingress Pisces, so it goes into Pisces again in March, and Pisces Dagim. Okay, so Pisces is called Dagim in Hebrew. Now Mars is called Ma'adim, ingress Gemini. Mars, ingress Gemini. So Ma'adim, Gemini, Teomim. Gemini is Teomim. Now Jupiter is and Saturn, Jupiter called Zodiac and Saturn called Shabbatai are not really, we're not going to talk about those because those are not having ingresses during March of 2019. Now the planet Uranus going into the sign of Taurus. Uranus in Hebrew was given a name Oron, or Oron, something like that. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's sort of a new designation. The friends that I talked to had mentioned it's kind of a new designation that Uranus was given. And ingress Taurus, the bull, Shor. The Hebrew constellation for Taurus is Shor. That's the name of it. And it's the bull. Taurus the bull. Now Neptune, again, this month doesn't have an ingress, but it's called Rahab, Rahab. Because remember, the B and V are interchangeable in Hebrew, and also there's, sometimes, well, that's enough, but sometimes there's some interchangeable ways to pronounce things. Okay, for Pluto, my friend said they didn't know of any word for in Hebrew for Pluto, the planet Pluto, because they don't see it as a planet. They say it's just it's a dwarf planet or something, and I guess it's been demoted for some people, but not for everybody. So, we're just going to go ahead and, wait, there's no ingress this month, so we're not going to talk about it this month. They might go ahead and name it, who knows, but I don't think so. But, because it's not considered by those people, who are designating new names for planets in Hebrew, those individuals have not given one or do not deem it to be a real planet. So those of us who have been doing astrology for a long time feel kind of funny about that, if that's okay, because a dwarf planet is fine. Because there's other there's a lot going on out there in the Kuiper belt, and one wonders why all this is going on. Perhaps we're getting us ready for something else coming into our solar system. One can only speculate. Okay, thank you. Now remember the information found in the document that's in the description box below, or if you're and the information I've given you in this video. It's based on the oral tradition known as Kabbalah, taught to me by Rosicrucian clergy when I was but a young girl, the facts of which I have committed to memory. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again.